about a little bit on pumps and issues with some pumps that we see. If you're having an issue with your machine starting up and building pressure on startup, that's going to be a different issue than when you get it pressurized up and you go start to spray and then go off ratio. Again, this is more going to be on the supply side, or this displacement pump is not building pressure and you can't start your machine properly. So first thing you want to start is, start at the drum. Make sure, one, you have product in the drum, two, that you've got air pressure to your pump and that it's got full air pressure, that it needs 100 pounds if it's a T1, or 50 to 60 pounds on a T3 maybe. But I've seen the valves on the pumps get shut off where there's not enough air pressure to them. I've seen barrels sitting on the air lines to where it's cutting off the air pressure. So again, make sure that that displacement pump is running. Make sure you're getting product at least to the pump. Next thing is, of course, the Y strainer. Make sure you shut the pump off, shut this valve off, undo this nut, check that, clean that screen out, make sure you've got no restriction there. And even if I want to verify the pump, this is a good part. I can take a bucket, put underneath there, plug my pump in, and slowly open this valve and make sure I get flow. Make sure my pump is pumping. Pump that barrel, or pump out of the barrel into that bucket. I can take the bucket, dump it back into the drum so I'm not wasting the product. But that'll verify that that system is working at least to this point. Now, one of the main characteristics I look at is if I watch your machine pressurize and I watch the gauges and I see a gauge build a little bit of pressure and then it loses pressure and then it builds pressure probably higher and then it loses. If you're ever seeing your gauge go down while it's trying to build pressure, one of these two check balls has probably got something in it and it's not checking, or it's not stopping where it should, so it can't build pressure against it. So you're going to build on one side of the pump and lose it on the other side of the pump. So again, you'll watch those gauges and they'll bounce. And if I see that, that's what we're going to go through, is how to check that, or how to clean these check balls. And then we'll go on into how to get this pump apart if I have to take it apart and actually rebuild it. So again, first off, before you take anything apart, make sure your barrel pump is unplugged, no air pressure, no fluid pressure coming in. Make sure your valve is off, and then I'm going to open up this system. So again, disconnect your supply. Set that off to the side somewhere, your supply line. Now I've got the cone. So you're going to very carefully take this off, and there's a sleeve inside of here. When you're taking this off, you want to make sure that sleeve doesn't come with it. If it is stuck to this, you may have to try to wiggle this around and break it loose, but you do not want to pull that sleeve out, because there's another one of these Teflon seals that sits clear at the top, and if you pull that down, you're probably going to have to pull the pump completely apart and rebuild it, because that Teflon seal will not get back in its right position. So in the bottom of this is your lower check ball. The larger of the two. And there's your cage. So you've got this, just empty housing, spray it out with brake clean, clean it up. You will see there is a white Teflon O-ring down on the bottom of that. It needs to be there. You've got a seat. You want to check this and make sure there's no nicks or scratches or anything built up on that where that ball will sit against that. That ball and that seat have to seal up against each other. If you see any daylight through that, if you look at it from this side, you can see through it something's wrong. It is double-sided. It doesn't matter which way it goes. So even if something's ruined one side, you might be lucky enough to flip it over and use the other side. You also want to check the check ball itself. Make sure there's no debris, nothing stuck to it, and there's not a ring wore in it. Sometimes we see where this thing goes up and down and it just chatters against that piece for 5, 10 years. It'll wear a ring in that. And then it moves a little bit, and then that ring will let fluid leak. So you need to check that out. And again, somewhat inspect and clean the cage. A few times I have seen these things crack and split in half, and if they split, when it hits pressure, it comes apart and it leaks, so inspect that. The hard part is the part up inside of there. Well, we can't really get a good camera view of it, I don't think, but the displacement rod, when it comes down, there's a hole up inside of there. It's about 1/4 of an inch round. It goes all the way up to the upper check ball. First thing I typically want to do is take a long skinless screwdriver and put up there and push up on that check ball. You can hear this one's free, obviously, because there's no product in it, but you want to relieve the pressure so it comes down and push the check ball up, let any of the ISO or resin, whatever it is, drain out of there. And then I take my brake clean, take my straw, and you bend the straw and put up in there, and it'll actually go all the way up to the check ball, push it up there, spray that out, clean it out, flush that out as much as you can. Again, just flush that out and let it get any debris that might be in there out of there. And then I'll usually push that up there and let that brake fluid all run out of there and evaporate so you don't end up with that brake fluid on in your product. So that's how you clean the upper one. Once you've done that, you're just going to put everything back together, put all this back on, put your pump back on. But now I've introduced air into the system, so I've got some air in the pump. I don't want to just try pressurizing my machine up because I'll pressurize that air bubble and that's not good. I want to open my recirc valves and let that recirculate through the machine back to the drum and let that run for probably 15 minutes maybe to get all that air and make sure you've got the air out of the system before you try to pressurize it. It's very, very important. Okay, so now in the event that we have to get to the pump and say that didn't do the trick, it's still not building pressure, then it's probably one of the seals inside of here and we're going to have to get inside this pump. A lot of times the hard part is getting this apart, and even if we're just changing the wet cup, how do I get this thing off of here? Okay, there's a couple different ways you could do it. Once you've got it to this point, you've got the supply side off, you've got the high pressure side on the back, you're going to loosen that and get it off of there. I usually take it and take all 4 bolts out of this and pull the complete side off of the pump, and then you can go take it to a workbench and you can work on it. If you don't want to do that and you want to do it on here, that's fine too. But basically what you got to do, pull your TSL off, you get it out of the way. So there should be a couple of Allen head plugs in here that occupy the opposite 2 holes that you're not using for the flush lines. So you're going to have to take this pump, move these around so that you can get to those, unthread those, get them out of the way. Once you've got that, you can start to unthread your pump. I want to get this down far enough where I can get to this pin. So there's this little keeper that's in there that's basically like a small keychain type ring. You want to get it up out of the way, and then you push that pin out from the opposite side. It's catching on that back side a little bit. So the pin comes out. Once it's come out, you are separated from the top half. You can take your pump, thread it the rest of the way out, and it will come loose, and you've got it separated. Now if you need to change your wet cup, you're probably going to put that in a vise or something or hold it. Take this wet cup loose, pipe wrench, something like that, grab a hold of it, spin it right off, clean up what you need to clean up, put your new wet cup back on, and keep going.